everybody. Welcome back. It's Cape Rugby TV. We carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby and, of course, Western Province Rugby. Every week we look to see what's happening out there, and we look to keep you connected. It's 2021 now, and we're looking forward to building on call it the positives from 2020 into this year, into 2021, even though times are difficult, or we don't always know exactly what is coming up next, but we wait and see what the various announcements are. But joining me on the line now, and he was of course on the show with us plenty last year, Labeeb Levy. Labeeb, great to have you back on the line, Meneer. Are you healthy? Are you well? Are you safe?
No, I'm actually very healthy. I've started some New Year resolutions by putting some form of training regime into my program.
Labeeb, it's fantastic. Yeah, of course, we were thrilled to have you last year on so many times that you managed to join us remotely, and I can just say that we're very grateful for the fact that you took the time out to share with us and to tell us and keep us connected, and the fans out there and the players that watch the show on a regular basis, and we're obviously grateful for that. Looking at 2020, we know that it was a terrible year, but there were also a lot of positives in 2020, Labeeb. Some of the things that jump out for you from last year that really for you was a strong point.
Yeah, I think obviously playing Super Rugby, playing the New Zealand and Australia teams was quite a highlight. We could see where we were. We started very well. We had a couple of knocks in the end, so that was quite a highlight. But obviously, COVID kicked in quite early in the year, and I think the highlight there was that coaches like ourselves, all professional coaches and even amateur coaches, had to find ways to invent themselves or reinvent themselves. And I think learning took place, and which was interesting because you could have a professional coach sitting in Europe, being on the same webinar like an amateur coach sitting out in Mitchell's Plain, and the information they're getting is the same. So I think empowerment, upliftment, finding new ways of learning, I think that's a major positive. And I mean, people building networks all over Cape Town, all over the country, and all over the world. So everyone found new ways to assimilate learning, which is what the sport is about. You don't always have the time or the luxury of doing research and finding new methods of coaching as well as technical information.
2021 was 2020. I've got to get used to the words every time now. Yeah. It's like back in the day when you wrote your first date, you always got the date wrong on the first.
That's cool, yeah.
So if we go back to 2020, of course, it was a very disruptive year for the Stormers, a disruptive year for the Currie Cup team. Things were very difficult in terms of finding momentum, having consistent practice sessions. I mean, it really was very challenging, but eventually you guys started getting back on track. You started getting a return to training and a return to play in place. Looking at 2020, of course, this year, the season was slightly different because it didn't end in, say, for example, November. You played right through. You guys, in fact, have been playing rugby over what we call the festive season.
Yeah, we had a match versus Griquas on Boxing Day. So Griquas, ironically, they had a captain on Christmas. We gave the guys off that day, so it wasn't quite normal. And then we played Cheetahs Tweede Nuwe Jaar. So I'll normally be involved here in Bull Cup watching a bit of Klopse, but I was involved in a rugby game in Bloemfontein. So it is quite abnormal, but it's how you adapt to it, and then everyone embraced it because rather do that than playing no rugby. So the fact that you're playing rugby was a positive, irrespective of time of the year. Obviously, from a coaching and player perspective, you're sitting with different conditions because obviously the heat during December, January, February especially is quite different. So part of the way you train, when you train, how you prepare for the matches are also key. So you'll find that in certain matches there were like 20-minute water breaks, etc., which isn't normal in a full-on league setup. They normally have water breaks in warm-up games and friendlies, which is played this time of the year. So coaches, players, management all had to adapt. What's also obviously quite different is playing for the birds, so you're not actually playing for crowds, and that also takes some time. But the guys adapted quite well. But I mean, running out to a stadium and there's no supporters. Some stadiums actually had dummy crowd sound, so when you score a try, it goes yeah, and you hear the sound. And when you look around,
So the broadcast, the stadium events management actually had the speakers going with crowd noises and so on, just to add a bit of chaos.
But very loud, and you actually feel like you're in a crowd. But
Labeeb, of course, now that we've worked out that the crowd effects are there in the stadium, which clearly makes it really does go to show that the world is changing. The world of sport broadcasting is changing. The way of playing matches is changing. It's a whole different dynamic. Do you think that from a sport perspective, people are going to get used to this?
Well, they're forced to. At this point, they're forced to, because of the whole pandemic, etc. But at least they're getting it on TV. Example, the Bulls, they would have like dummy pictures of people, so people can send in the picture. And ironically, one of our players, we were at Loftus, and then his father's picture was actually on Loftus,
on the screen.
No, not on the screen, in the stand. So they actually take a cardboard picture of JP and put it there, of fans. So they've been creative there. There's also been ways which technologically where you can superimpose dummy crowds. So
yeah,
but that hasn't actually taken off as such from a TV perspective. But there has been technology people doing that type of presentation. So definitely it's changing the world of sport and obviously the world the way we know it, and we all just have to adapt.
From a rugby perspective, back home now, DHL Western Province, you guys have made it into the semi-finals of the Carling Currie Cup. You must be very happy with that.
Yes, we are quite happy about that, because we are playing home for most teams. Even though with no crowds, you have a slight advantage because of just a familiarity. You can train more on the field. The players are used to the environment. We were meant to play a match last week versus the Sharks just for log position. So if they had won, they would have gone second. We would have gone third. If we had won, obviously we would have remained second. But the game was considered a draw. So the log position remained the same, and we were second, they were third. That's why we're playing home at Newlands. It's potentially the last game at Newlands because the semi-final and the Bulls are top of the log and they're playing the Lions. We hope to a degree that the Bulls lose to the Lions, and we also want to beat the Sharks, and then we can possibly get another game at Newlands. So we'll see how that goes.
So your next big match is, of course, the semi-finals at Newlands, and then if the cards fall where we hope for them to fall, we might see a finals at Newlands.
Yeah, there is still that outside possibility. Obviously, the Lions have to be at their best. They lost last week against the Bulls, but hopefully that can give them more motivation, not to rest on the laurels and play out of the skin to beat the Bulls. But we still have to go do the job against the Sharks. We can't even focus on that other game at this point. Our main aim is focusing on the Sharks and preparing for them. The advantage also was that we had prepared for them last week. So it's not like you have to go do new research. So we can basically use last week's training and just tweak it and add on, and players can get more familiar with it.
Well, we're looking forward to that, Labeeb. Great to have you back on the line. We're looking forward to catching up with you again. And if we don't speak to you before the semi-finals, then, of course, to you and the rest of the squad, and I'm sure we'll still speak to some of the guys on the team, maybe Dobbo and the guys, we say to you guys, obviously, first, stay safe. And then, secondly, we say good luck.
Thanks, appreciate the support, and we'll go all out to make sure we get a good result next week.
Fantastic. Thanks, Labeeb. There we go, folks. Labeeb Levy, of course, skills coach at the DHL Stormers and DHL Western Province Rugby. And, of course, Western Province Rugby have now made it into the semi-finals. And as he said, we still might, if everything goes in the right direction, we might see 2 more matches at Newlands, including a home finals. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Folks, we'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Back in a sec.